right, everyone, we have our first deck of the new set, new format, new meta, whatever you want to call it. It's here, and I gotta say, when I saw, what the new champions would be or who they would be, what I was most excited for was Viktor, 100%. And man, he is fun. He is so diverse as well in how you can build him. You can throw him in a lot of different decks. I've seen him played a lot of different ways thus far, so very, very excited to start playing with him. And my first thought, anyways, was let's try him in an Ezreal deck. So obviously Ezreal took quite a hit after some recent changes, but I'm kind of liking the way this Viktor Ezreal deck feels. So it's still a lot to do to change it around, get it maybe tip-top shape. I know there's some tournaments this weekend, which I might actually be playing in for once instead of actually casting, so that should be interesting. But without further ado, we're going to have two games. As per usual, we're going to get into the deck itself first. And yeah, you guys go ahead and decide for yourselves whether or not you think this is one of the next Ezreal decks that we might see for this format. Alright, so we have Ezreal, Viktor, and we're going to be doing Targon as the splashed region. And what do you know, it's actually a lot of PNZ cards for once. I know PNZ has long been one of the worst regions. In this case, finally with this new set, they have some amazing additions like Ballistic Bot. This card is bonkers. When I first reviewed this card, when I first saw it, I knew it was going to be really good. I did not this blew it away. This 1-3 for 2 is already, that's War Chefs, right? War Chefs got changed to that. It still blows my mind. War Chefs used to be a 2-3. But this, at round start, creates an ignition in hand. And also Augment, which is Augment actually ended up being a lot better than I had anticipated. But essentially what this means is every single turn you're getting a 1 mana deal 1 damage enemy Nexus spell that also buffs this attack by 1. So pretty insane stuff right there, just on its own. And then when you kind of look at some of the other key cards in the deck that combo with it, like Viktor, all these other cards like Nyandroid that combo with that augment effect, it becomes pretty ridiculous. Now, not to mention, one of the main goals of this deck is to, basically you actually have multiple win conditions. You got elusives in general, so Nyandroid and Ezreal, you go ahead and buff up Nyandroid. You have something like Bastion to protect it. You try to go face. You swing in for a big hit. You also have something like just Burn, right? The Ballistic Bot deals a damage each turn. Then you also have 3 Mystic Shot to get excited, plus Ezreal. So if you do level up the Ezreal, you are able to get his effect off as well. And there's plenty of burst speed stuff in here. You have the rummages. You have Hush, which I guess that's just a tech card, which I'll go over in a second. But you have Chump Wump for the shrooms. You have all these ways to proc Ezreal as well. And then you actually have Viktor as just a win condition in and of itself. Honestly, there's been a couple games, I think one of them you'll see here, where if he gets 4 or 5 keywords on him, he is a beast. You can't deal with him. It's pretty nuts. Spell Shield is a keyword that he can get as well, which is pretty freaking strong, not going to lie. And another important card with Ezreal is Shards of the Mountain. So, kind of the dream combo, which is really, really, really nice if you're able to get it off, is something like a leveled Viktor with Shards of the Mountain with an Ezreal. Obviously you play all the Shards of the Mountain from your hand onto the Ezreal. It not only buffs up your elusive attacker, but it also deals 1 damage per, one that you're playing. So that's pretty nice. The Shards become free because of Viktor's leveled effect, which is all your created cards cost 1 less. So pretty nice stuff there. And then on top of that, if you have a Nyandroid on the field, it also buffs the Nyandroid up as well for that additional elusive attacker. So awesome stuff there. Shards of the Mountain also obviously synergizes well with things like Rummage. This deck, there was Funsmith in here at one point. You're going to see in these games as well, there's a couple cards that aren't actually in this build that I'm going over. This is the build I've landed on now. This is not finalized. This can definitely be tweaked. There's a lot of different cards I'm starting to test out, like Moonlit Affliction or Moonlight Affliction, and even the Hush in there, because a lot of times there's a lot of people playing elusives now, and there's a lot of people playing elusives, they have elusive blockers. So Moonlight Affliction, I should say, definitely helps with that, as well as Hush. So And then the progress day, just to kind of really beef up your hand later on in the game if you do run out of steam, which sometimes does happen. I mean, you're using things like Death Ray to constantly control the enemy's field and get rid of followers, get rid of champions. Even Mystic Shot sometimes are going to go, to their field. And if you're using those consistently, you are eventually going to run out of steam, and that's exactly what the progress day is in there for, which you should eventually be able to get to with the Rummage. So definitely an interesting archetype. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the very first 2 games of the new expansion, the new meta, the new format, Ezreal Viktor. All right, so as always, everybody, we are going to do 2 games here. A little bit increased speeds, that way we can get through them both, and you can kind of get a good feel for how this deck operates. So, actually, surprisingly enough, we had a Lulu Zoe first match. I've actually seen some people have some success with Zoe as of late, so it's pretty interesting to see Zoe pop up, and I didn't really think she'd be too competitive. But you can see here, just to get started, this Boom Crew Rookie. This was another card that I was experimenting with again. There was a time when this originally started as like a just burn go face deck. Boom Crew Rookie was in there. There's also that new spell, 4 mana, deal 3 to anything, that PNZ now has, kind of like a different version of Decimate. And that was in here at one point. So lots of different things I've experimented. I might even go back to trying to do more of a PNZ face burn at some point, because I do like the archetype in general. I do like that spell that deals 3 to anything as well. But nonetheless, we have a Boom Crew Rookie in this particular version. We do still end up winning as well. So the Boom Crew Rookie, not necessarily bad. There's a lot of 2-attack units being played nowadays as well. So that change from 4 to 3 health didn't really, I don't know, it's not as impactful as it might have once been, where there was a lot more 3-attack units being played. So Tempo Ezreal early on, so it feels pretty good. Unfortunately, losing the Boom Crew here to this Pale Cascade. But getting these generated Mystic Shots as well are important, because they also help with Viktor's level up effect. And so something that, if you don't have Ballistic Bot, I don't want to say Viktor's level up effect is necessarily hard per se, but it's not easy. It does take a little bit of time. And when you have Ballistic Bot, that makes it incredibly easy, right? Every turn you're getting 1. If you have Viktor on the field himself as well, you're getting 1 each turn, which is really, really helpful. And these are 1-cost spells as well, which is super good. So the Ezreal obviously helps with that. The Chump Wumps help with that, generating the 2 Shrooms, although a lot of times you will be discarding those to Rummage. The MK Lasers are super. They've actually impressed me a lot. I don't know if we're going to see one in this particular game, but those, obviously, the next 2 are created, and they actually help a lot to deal with the field. So you can see in this case, though, we did get both Ballistic Bots. Another good thing about this Ignition card is, yes, it helps Viktor's level up. It also allows you to pass priority. So, like, right there, I could have played that second Ballistic Bot first. I think I don't know what I was playing around. I mean, honestly, this is one of the first games I played with these decks, so who knows at this point. But they're really great at passing priority. So you can see here, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm just using the Ignition to pass priority back over to my opponent, see what they do. Spell Thief, another one of the new spells released with these cards. So it's going to pick one of the 3 spells I've played so far this game, which I think is either an MK Laser, an Ignition. I don't even know if I played another spell, so it's probably between those 2. But you can see the Death Ray in hand as well, the MK2. Right now, it's not going to do a whole lot because there's no 2 health units, but it is really nice to have for the future. I mean, and the good thing about this, too, and I'm hoping that we see it here at some point during these games, Rummage, when you have things that draw like Rummage, it turns these MKs into, like, guaranteed removal. So there's been a lot of times, for instance, if I have a MK3 in the deck, because I've played the other 2, especially versus, like, an aggro deck, and you need that 3 removal for something like a Draven, you can Rummage into it. Yeah, it puts it into the top 3 of the deck, but you'll definitely get it in the next turn if you have a Rummage, because you'll draw for your turn, and then you'll draw 2 for the Rummage. Then you have a pretty good chance of getting it regardless if you just play the Rummage, right? So Rummage is kind of neat in allowing you to control your draws like that. You do see that we have the gems in hand, right? So I don't even actually remember the name of this card because this card has literally never been played before. I think people played it when it first came out, but it's like Stones of the Mountain or something like that. I don't know. This card is going to come in clutch. We're actually really close to Viktor leveling, I believe. I think we've played like 2 or 3 ignitions. We've played Ezreal's Mystic Shot. Yeah, it looks like we're like 2 or 3 away, possibly. And what's going to happen is Viktor's going to start to create Hex Cores in hand as well. So, Hex Core also good for passing priority. I think I play the Nyandroid here first. Yeah, Nyandroid, very very good card. It's Nyandroid is good in its own deck though, right? As a standalone card, if you start to play it in other random decks, it doesn't really do it justice. When you're playing it in decks that create cards and you're able to get its attack really high, it really becomes a win condition. And it's nice too because it's a 3-cost 1/3, which is essentially Ezreal's stats, and it makes it so your opponent has to use removal on something other than Ezreal. So there's a lot of matchups where a lot of the times you'll see, Ezreal is a priority target, and this takes the priority off of Ezreal. But what I do want to focus on that just happened there is the combo. The combo. So good. That's basically what you want to try to do, right? You want to get Viktor, level him up, play Shards of the Mountain. I think that's the name, right? Have an Elusive on field like Nyandroid, even if it was Ezreal. I mean, Nyandroid gives you +2 attack every time you play a gem because of the augment. But even if it's an Ezreal, you're still increasing Ezreal's attack, and he's an Elusive, right? Plus, if it's a leveled up Ezreal, you're dealing 1 damage next. It's essentially the same thing anyway. So, yeah, it feels so good to get a leveled Viktor with 2 of the, what is it? Shards of the Mountain. Yeah, nailed it. All right, I just saw it because I hovered it. Thank you, past me. What I will say, so, all right, there's only 2 in here. I actually play tested 3 Shards of the Mountain. It feels really clunky, I'm not going to lie, because there are a lot of times where it's just chilling in hand. I might even go down to 1. I 100% think it should be in the deck because it's, in and of it, if you are running out of steam and you have something like a Viktor, it's amazing. Or a Nyandroid on field, right? It fills your hand with tons of created cards. It also, instantly levels Viktor at some point. So if you do get it early and you're able to get it played early, then you will have a really quickly leveled Viktor. The problem with playing it early is that you lose a lot of tempo. So I don't think you're going to see us play it anytime soon here. It's just going to kind of chill all the way to the left of our hand. It also does synergize with something like Rummage, which we just saw. So it has other uses, but the 4 mana to play it is a pretty big tempo loss when all is said and done. And this deck sometimes has issues keeping up with tempo. It's not trying to just flood the board with units. It's trying to just protect, a couple elusive units or a Viktor, right? The other thing, you see a Sump Dredger here too, right? So Sump Dredger and Zonite Urchin are 2 cards that I've also been going back and forth with. More so Sump Dredger recently. I mean, so Sump Dredger feels really good with something like Ballistic Bot because you're always going to have discard fodder for it, which I think is what you're going to see here as well. We could just play the Sump Dredger with the and discard the Ignition, right? I don't know. The problem is it starts to play more like a Draven Ezreal deck, and I have seen Draven Ezreal decks floating around just changing out, Ballistic Bot essentially, just putting in a Ballistic Bot and poof, there you go. Draven Ezreal is now better, right? So really minor change as far as that's concerned. And I don't know if that's really the route this deck wants to go. I think it wants to go more all in on the Elusive. Another thing I've tried is Poro Cannon. It's Elusive, right? I mean, you play a gem on it. It's a created card as well. The 2 Poros that come out of it. So those will also buff things like the Nyandroid. So a lot of different ways to go about building this deck right now. And I really do like the all-in on the Viktor, Ezreal, gems, created cards, elusive units type. Let's just go all in on 1 attack. And that's what the 3 Bastions are in there for. The Bastions do allow us to go in for those last attacks, knowing that our unit will be able to survive, right? And that's what we want. We want to guarantee that damage. I actually just played a game after these against Midrange Frostbite where I preemptively played the Bastion to avoid the Frostbite, right? Because they had 3 mana up for Flash Freeze. So Bastion's super, super useful in this deck. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to see Shards of the Mountain in this game. Not going to lie. Now, this deck we're going up against is just straight P&Z. It's playing all the new cards. We have 3 Ballistic Bots on field. From what I've found, typically, the person who gets a Ballistic Bot or more Ballistic Bots on field generally will win a matchup like this. we were able to kind of maneuver things, I guess, to win this. I'm pretty sure we take this in the end, just by forcing trades like this. So I actually don't mind trading my elusive for his elusive because his is obviously stronger. The Sump Dredger, I don't care about trading with any of those ballistic bots because I'd rather him lose a ballistic bot. So that actually forces the 4 damage through. And obviously my opponent realizes the ballistic bots are more important as well, right? So I actually really like that. So one of the, this is how I maneuver it, right? So here is the other kind of win condition to this deck. Viktor is just a win condition on his own. He is that good. Especially when you're playing 3 Bastion, or if you play his augment ability or Hex Tech Core upgrade, or Hex Core upgrade, is that what it is? And he gets Spell Shield, he becomes basically indestructible, because then you start to get things like Quick Attack, Lifesteal, Challenger. Okay, like that's, sign me up. Like that is a hella good set of keywords, and it inevitably will happen. From what I've noticed too, I don't think he's able to get the same keyword twice. It's never come up like that. I've always gotten additional keywords added, and you don't get bad keywords. So you don't get ephemeral, you don't get can't block, stuff like that. So eventually he's like this inevitability of I will eventually win the game. And in this particular matchup, especially with things like these ballistic bots and the ignitions on the side of my opponent, eventually they're going to generate enough advantage to kill me with those. Something like Lifesteal, which I think nope, this is Quick Attack, so still not quite Lifesteal. Something like Lifesteal will save me in this game 100%, which I think it might be the next one we play that we get it. So, and that means we are going to be able to level up Viktor. So when you do have a Spell Shield on Viktor, it does become quite easy to go ahead and level him up. So you can see, again, I'm really kind of behind right now besides this Viktor. My opponent has tons of ignitions. I think they kind of misplayed not playing the ignitions, instead going for this back alley barkeep thing, which actually this was like kind of a meme deck that some people were mentioning in a Discord that I'm in. So I'm happy to see it. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, so we can go in with the Viktor because why the hell not, right? This elusive trade with the Niandroid makes sense as well. So pretty easy stuff. We even have gems in the future to eventually go ahead and heal up this Niandroid. And I think we're pretty comfortable. Just, going into the next turn, we're going to get some more free stuff. We're going to get gems of the... Shards of the Mountain. I keep forgetting. I just want to call it Gems of the Mountain. We're going to get these Shards of the Mountain off probably eventually at some point. Yep, here's the Bastion. At this point, although this Niandroid is pretty low on health, and that Static Shock immediately procs that Spell Shield, which feels kind of bad, I need to save this elusive unit because it is like the huge advantage that I have over my opponent right now. I don't think I ever got Lifesteal, with Viktor. I need the elusive to punch through the damage, so that's exactly why we want to keep the Niandroid alive here. And we have the Shards of the Mountain. Shards of the Mountain will be able to buff it up and heal it up to eventually deal enough damage for game, which I think we will see it here. I think we're actually going to see here. But see, this is my point. Like, there's 2 in hand, and they've just been chilling. Feels bad, right? Like, I might, with how much draws in this deck, too, we might only just do 1. I don't know. It's so good when it, like, look at this. It's so beautiful, though. It feels so good. Like, this feels so good when it happens. I don't want to play less Shards of the Mountain. Oh, man. I don't know. But, yeah, so now we have a 12-4 Niandroid. Nice and quick. We even have a 14-5 Viktor. And this is an example of both of those win conditions, right? Viktor right now, the win condition he's enabling is really the Overwhelm win con because he has Overwhelm on him. Otherwise, it might be like an elusive win con or something like that. Did he have Quick Attack and just take damage? Did that just happen? Oh, it's because he was blocking. Okay. I was like, how did Viktor just take damage? I had to block there because I'm so low on health, to be honest with you. So, yep. And here's the attack. And that is gonna be game. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I absolutely love this Viktor elusive gems combo. Leveling up Viktor and having all those free gems on something like a Niandroid just feels so damn good. So I definitely implore you guys to try this deck out. Even if this is not the final build, it's still super fun. And as you can see there, I had that first build I went over. There's a lot of different ways you can change it. You can add the Sump Dredgers, you can add the Zonite Urchins. There's a lot of different cards you can experiment with between P and Z and Targon that I think are all pretty good options. All these new cards really gave a lot of diversity to a lot of archetypes, and I'm very, very, very excited for it. So hope you guys like it. As always, the deck will be in the description below if you want to go ahead and check it out. Deck code and deck link. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.